Wow, I've got such a cool topic for you guys. I wonder who wins this one. Hello, this is King Bullet. So it looks like we're back here again. You guys don't actually understand how disappointed I am to be here for the second time discussing this. You've probably read the title and know that we're talking about a controversial emotion-dwelling topic that we've gone over before. That is Naruto vs Luffy. To which I said Naruto would win, however, to be fair, things are different now. Naruto has Baryon mode and Luffy has the 5th gear. Both have been granted with weird and wacky powers, I think Luffy more so, and I'm here to talk about whether that actually changes anything or not. The debate has Naruto and One Piece fans split and at each other's throats, so you as a viewer most likely already have an opinion on this topic, so at least hear me out before you go to the comment section. And who knows, Naruto might win, Luffy might win, it might even be a draw. To be honest, I've finished whatever the outcome is. It's a lose-lose. It is also one of those things that can change in the future, so isn't definitive. Which I did mention in my first video too, so keep that in mind. So regardless of outcome, please don't be too annoyed at me. Like, if Naruto somehow reaches godhood or something, or maybe Luffy reaches the 6th gear and that changes things, I'm only using the feats and the scaling that we have currently, so it's like both characters are the best we've seen them so far. Firstly, we have to go over the power scaling, so let's begin with Luffy. Getting into this, in my last video I said that Luffy was pretty fast. I claimed that Luffy was casually light speed. We know this since he can dodge the pacifista's light beams in his base form and even calls the beams slow. So if we're being generous, I think the narrative implication here is that he's beyond light speed, becoming upwards of 100 times faster, since Luffy is becoming dozens of times faster from gears 1 to 5, making him that many times faster than the speed of light, or at least around that level. Now, how strong did I say Luffy was? Luffy should be around Yonko level. He very clearly has world-ending power. Well, not necessarily like planet-busting power, but at least enough to bring end to all life. He might not even necessarily be able to do it, but he can fight characters who are within that tier. For example, most Yonko have feats that make this most likely the case. Like one of the earlier Yonko's Shiki being able to move country-sized sky islands, and expanding water masses which are even larger. Although this doesn't sound world-ending, calculations tell us that he's producing roughly the energy equivalent of blowing up continents, which is super impressive, but it goes even further. Whitebeard even has a statement telling us that he can destroy the world, which should mean he can destroy at least the pirate world by maybe wiping out his surface or ending all life. But if you're being very generous, he might actually be capable of completely obliterating the planet. To possibly go even further, if you do think Whitebeard can destroy the planet, how large is a One Piece planet? Some people think it's only the same size as a normal Earth in real life, others think it's even bigger. And there are implications telling us it could be bigger. For example, the One Piece planet has multiple moons. Take even Alabasta Island, it has a river which has a small width, but the width is said to be many kilometers wide. The rest of the planet could be much bigger. Some people get the planet up to the same size as Jupiter, and I think that might be the extent of it. There's some calculations even saying that the One Piece planet is the size of a star. I don't know how that could be possible, but it is fiction. So if you do somehow believe that, and Whitebeard can destroy a planet that is the size of a star, then yes, Whitebeard possibly could be star level, but I think that's the extent of it. But the real question is Luffy that level? Because in the last Naruto vs Luffy video that I did have to stretch to get Luffy higher Yonko to say he was even Whitebeard level. But with the most recent developments in the manga, I think it's pretty objective that he is that level now. So I think you guys know what I'm going to move on to now. We're going to talk about the 5th gear, Luffy's new form. With the 5th gear, his hair and clothes turn completely white as he gains this enhanced physical strength and speed. Although the multiplier is unknown, we do see he visually does get faster and stronger, and he refers to this power as the pinnacle of what he can do, implying that it is his best form. When Luffy was killed by Kaido, he was revived when he used Gear 5. This probably means that he has some sort of one-time resurrection as long as his body is intact. It's very hard to say what his power is. It's not like there's a lot of statements. It's not like there's a data book telling us exactly what abilities he has. Luffy has used his form again by forcing his heart to pump more blood in the beat of a drum. And I don't know if that's revival necessarily, he might not even have that power anymore. But once he does activate it for the first time at least, in the manga we can see he gets the power increase. He can use something called a Gomu Gomu no Giant. And when he uses it, he basically creates this giant fist nearly the size of an island to attack Kaido. And then swings it with his entire strength to finish him off. There's calculations that place the amount of energy to do this around the energy equivalent to destroying continents, just like the other higher tier Yonko I was talking about. Meaning, he's definitely around that level now. And that's not even the best part of the form. The most important element of a 5th gear is that Luffy gains new abilities which are similar to Toon Force. Now, a lot of people spit Toon Force out like it's some sort of unbeatable power. But let's get this straight first. Toon Force is basically just cartoon physics. That's what it means. It's just another word for cartoon physics. Do you know in like Tom and Jerry, when one of them is like thrown through a wall and there's like a hole in the shape of their body left? It's kind of like that. So there's like levels to it. Having something like Toon Force doesn't mean you're necessarily unbeatable. And we know there are some cartoon physics that Luffy gains, since Kaido states that his abilities were something like that of a comic strip. Luffy can break normal conventional physics, like running in the air, gaining mass out of thin air, making his opponents view birds when he hits them as if it was a cartoon, even giving characters exaggerated elasticity. For example, he gave bolts of lightning these rubber-like properties, allowing him to bounce off them and throw them, as if they were tangible physical pieces of rubber. He also made Kaido's body so elastic that he was swinging him around like he was a rubber band or something, and then sliding inside of his body. That's just one of his abilities, I guess. Can Naruto deal with this kind of power? And how would he deal with this power? Before I move on to that, I think I should probably make it clear that having Toon Force or having these powers doesn't necessarily make Luffy invincible. This doesn't now mean he can go out there and beat Superman, for example. Because you'd still measure his feats, so his cartoonish powers, the same way you would measure other feats. They can still be calculated and compared to other attacks that aren't like that. Toon Force characters can even be beaten by characters who don't have those kind of powers. Saying Luffy's now invincible would be like saying Saitama is invincible because he has gag-like traits and powers. It's a no-limits fallacy. It also depends on what level of Toon Force you have. There's some characters, in fact there's a lot of characters in anime, cartoons, who sometimes comedically do cartoonish things, right? But that doesn't mean they're a pure Toon Force character like Popeye or Bugs Bunny or something. For example, take Luffy. Everything Luffy does isn't necessarily comedic and cartoonish. And even if you take somebody like Popeye, we don't say that he's omnipotent or something. He's got a certain level of feats that you use to scale him. It's the same with Peter Griffin, SpongeBob, all of these guys. And to doubly prove that, at least when it comes to the versus battle stuff, right? Imagine if you put two Toon Force characters in a ring with each other, like who would win? If they're both invincible and unbeatable. Logically, what do? We're like, okay, they have these weird and wacky abilities, but some of them are better at using them than others. For example, there's some characters with their Toon Force who can only crack a planet in half. But there's some who can destroy a multiverse with their Toon Force. So Luffy's somewhere around continent destroying to star destroying, which is a bit vague, and his Toon Force powers only encompass that. So if you're being realistic, maybe very comedically he could like pick up a continent and throw it or something. If you're being very generous, maybe he can grab the sun, turn it into a tiny ball and throw it at you. So to answer the question, can Naruto deal with it? Let's move on to him. In my last video I said that Naruto should be as strong as the Otsutsuki that he fights. It was said that he quite literally possessed the most potent chakra during the Otsutsuki invasion, meaning his chakra was stronger than both Momoshiki and Kinshiki's. Which also explains why Momoshiki thought that Naruto had insane levels of chakra, and it took Momoshiki hours to drain even half of Naruto's chakra. Momoshiki, who's very frequently called a star destroyer and may have caused even a supernova in the past. But that's not where it ends. Otsutsuki can create both dimensions and destroy them with high-level shinjutsu, which does not require the use of hand seals, but does require the use of chakra to create divine techniques. Kaguya can use a shinjutsu called Amino no Maka to both change and create dimensions that consist of a star, a planet, a moon, making each dimension she creates solar system sized, at least. The stars are undoubtedly real as well, considering the fact that there's day and night cycles, meaning the planet tilts on its axis. We also see the creation of a moon that is hurled into the outer space of the Genesis dimension. Now, some people might claim that there's a translation error, and that she didn't create them but instead weaved them, or spun them. But what it really says here is, she weaved or threaded them with the context of knitting a scarf, so she's still creating something. Kaguya can also use a shinjutsu called the Expanding Truth Seeker Orb to completely erase the time-space of her dimensions, to restart them, almost if she was rebooting a computer or something. Whereas Momoshiki created dimensions which are visibly larger, since they have starry skies shown within them, as seen when Momoshiki's blasted into the space of his own dimension. Now I think what people don't really understand is the difference between a solar system and multiple solar systems, because people don't account for the absolutely mental distance between each of the solar systems. Just to put this into context, the distance between our sun and the closest star to it is 4 light years. It would take light 4 years to travel from the nearest star to us. So that distance between stars is thousands of times greater than the size of even the solar system. And that's just the distance between 2 stars. So Momoshiki clearly created a visibly larger dimension than Kaguya at the bare minimum. Momoshiki later then fuses with Kinshiki to get even stronger and uses what he calls his greatest technique, or his greatest jutsu, which is the Super Odama Rasengan that he copies from Boruto. Meaning that Momoshiki's power, or at least the power of his Rasengans, are in the same realm as that multi-stellar dimension. And obviously, we see what happens next. It gets matched by the father-son Rasengan and overpowered eventually. Of course, Naruto would have to have stronger chakra than Momoshiki, and also be able to output a stronger chakra than Momoshiki as well. Since he can even contain all of his chakra within his body without imploding like Madara did when he absorbed Kaguya's chakra, means it also scales to his durability. And this kind of moves us on to speed, so Momoshiki also drains chakra from outside of his dimension to himself in seemingly seconds during his transformation. Although it is invisible in the manga and anime, Sasuke uses his Sharingan, according to this novel, to see the fine stream of chakra that is stretching from outside of Momoshiki's dimension all the way to Momoshiki. If this is the case, then the chakra must have travelled light years, many light years, in less than a minute, which means it's hundreds of thousands of times faster than the speed of light, in most cases. Of course, the speed at which your chakra travels is also related to how fast the user is as well, since ninja and aliens alike use their chakra to directly attack their opponents with chakra, or use their chakra to increase their body's speed. Characters even react to their own chakra and others' chakra during the series as well, meaning Momoshiki most likely has a speed that is exponentially greater than the speed of light. Which makes sense, he's an alien who can travel planet to planet, using either a portal or flight. So no wonder there's so many Otsutsuki feats of them travelling crazy interstellar distances. Now if you're being really generous, you could argue Momoshiki created a parallel universe, but people don't like that stuff. I'm just gonna completely ignore it. Now the other point is, a lot of people don't like using novels. I know I've mentioned it quite a few times already within this video, and I think it's completely fine to use, for 2 reasons. This novel in particular is canon. There's an official timeline showing that it's directly connected to the manga. And that poses a few issues. How could a novel interpretation be valid, and then the manga and anime interpretation also be valid? And the idea is they're all just different tellings of the same story. That is what a novelization is. It's a story in a book format. Okay, there's slight differences, but remember the writers are human. They're not going to get everything completely right. For example, you find inconsistencies in a data book, but it's still canon. Now, some people don't even care. Although it shows that it's connected to the Naruto Shippuden manga, its inconsistencies might mean it's not connected to the Boruto manga. Meaning some people think that it's some sort of alternate timeline. And this moves me on to my second point. Even if it is somehow an alternate timeline, because Kaguya remembered Momoshiki, that means he chronologically existed in Naruto Shippuden and the Naruto Shippuden manga. So I think Momoshiki's feats and Naruto's scaling to him should be valid. Now Naruto should be drastically stronger than Momoshiki, most likely in his base form. So even the current Kurumulus Naruto should be around this tier of power. Since we do see Naruto swap hands with Momoshiki, you're probably wondering if Momoshiki had half of Naruto's chakra, shouldn't he be beyond his base form? And technically he drained base form Naruto's chakra. It was base form Naruto's chakra that he was sensing. Of course, when you power up, your chakra also increases and flares up. Most importantly, Naruto gets stronger. Even stronger than all of the forms he's shown so far. When Kurama sacrifices himself to increase Naruto's chakra power and speed when activating Baryon mode. In this state, Naruto gains these fox ears and these 9 tails. Yes, he's a fox furry now. Kurama claims that he's a totally different beast to Sage mode or 6 paths, implying that it might actually be the most powerful form that we've seen in Naruto so far. In a process similar to nuclear fusion, Naruto and Kurama's chakra are fused, and consumed as raw materials to produce a new type of energy. It's said to be a tremendous increase in power and speed that even surpassed Ishiki. Nuclear fusion is meant to be like this increase of exponents, and if that's the case, then this increase could be, as Seth the programmer said in his old video about Borean mode Naruto, an increase that's similar to fusion from Dragon Ball. That's a little bit of an assumption. When it comes to feats, we know that Ishiki's rods were so fast that Sasuke noted that he could hardly even track or see them, despite having his Rinnegan and Sharingan active. Yet Naruto can very easily parry and catch these rods, meaning that Naruto's speed is now faster than Sasuke's perception. Naruto wouldn't even be a blur, he'd be invisible to Sasuke's perception. The scary thing is that the Sharingan's whole point is to be able to process speeds way faster than the user's usual perception. Hence why Kid Sasuke, who wasn't even the speed of sound, could see Haku's movements, which were light speed. Without a doubt, Borean mode is an exponential increase. Kurama even notes that all chakra is connected, and that contact with their opponent would drain their lifespan. But doing so would also gradually decrease the user's own lifespan too, so it's like a double-edged sword. Unfortunately, the form doesn't last very long either. The short time frame means that Naruto can't waste any time or punches, so he has to be completely focused. But the even greater concern is that overusage of his form comes at the cost of Kurama's life altogether, burning up his soul completely. Now, against Luffy, Borean mode sapping up his life force might not actually be that effective, since we don't really know how much life force Luffy has, really. And maybe it worked on Ishiki so well because Ishiki didn't have a lot of life left. We can't really say. Let's get this straight, whatever way you look at it, Naruto is at least drastically faster and stronger than Luffy, to a level where Luffy just can't keep up really. Even if we're being generous and say Luffy can blow up a planet, and the One Piece planet is the size of Jupiter, or even let's say the sun or something, it's still not strong enough to beat Borean mode Naruto, or even base form Naruto really. Or even Naruto without Borean mode or Kurama. Luffy doesn't have enough power to destroy Starfield dimensions, at least yet. Neither can Luffy cross them. So I have to give a power and speed advantage to Naruto massively, like I did in the first video. But the real question is, can Luffy's new form allow Luffy to win? Or does it give him any winning conditions? And the answer is obviously yes, especially within the 5th gear. Firstly, Naruto can sense negative emotions, so if he felt Luffy genuinely want to kill him, he might actually take him out without even letting him touch him, like he did against Madara when he saw Madara transforming into Kaguya. If Naruto killed Luffy, then the 5th gear could revive him at least once, and if Naruto isn't careful, then Luffy's 5th gear powers would turn Naruto elastic, and then Luffy could slip inside of him and maybe destroy his organs or something. The problem is Naruto has pretty good regeneration, so even if that was the case, I do think his regeneration is actually quicker than Luffy. Even if you ignore that, the problem is, if he made Naruto elastic, then his organs would also be elastic, since his whole body is now elastic. And unironically, that actually might make Naruto even harder to kill since he's got a higher tensile force now. Meaning if like Luffy punches him, he's gonna be rubbery and he's gonna pull back like a rubber band, instead of maybe just snapping in half. So ultimately, I don't think things change too much. If you haven't got it already, I think Naruto still wins. If it was like an equal stats match or something, maybe it's a closer fight which Luffy might actually have the advantage in since his abilities are more wacky and he's got some really cool hacks, undoubtedly. But Naruto's got some cool abilities too. Naruto and Luffy are both really powerful for their own universe, and that's what you've kind of got to understand. Undoubtedly, both will get even stronger and more powerful. Luffy's actually more likely to get stronger. I think Naruto's life expectancy isn't as long as you think, unfortunately. But as of currently, like I said, you have to look at the basic narratives. One of them's fighting pirates who can, at most, destroy planets, whereas the other one is now fighting weird aliens who can drain planets, destroy stars and solar systems, and now you even have the god tiers being these higher dimensional beings like Shubai, who's reached godhood. And that's it. If you liked the video, it'd be much appreciated if you like the video, maybe even subscribe. I've done a previous video on that and done videos on Luffy, Naruto, and other really cool videos, so you can check them out as well. But I just want to thank you for making it to the end of a video if you did, and I'll see you next time. Peace. Bro, there's no way nobody... Who wanted to see that? Naruto vs Luffy is so obvious. Damn, my fans really are goobers. Like, why did they want to watch that? Like, I would have known who won before I watched the video. Like, what?